Voters in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot are set to head back to the polls less than 4 months after April's federal election. Conservative MP Damien Carrick won the riding with more than 82% of the vote. But after Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre lost his Ottawa area seat, Carrick resigned, and that resignation has triggered a by-election and cleared the way for Poilievre to run in what's seen as one of the safest Conservative ridings in the country. Now, that by-election is set for August 18th, and Pierre Poilievre won't be the only person on the ballot. Bonnie Critchley is running as an independent candidate in the upcoming by-election in Battle River Crowfoot, and she joins me now. Bonnie Critchley, it's good to meet you. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Good morning. Well, at least it's morning here right now. So, hi, how you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you doing? Tell us why you've decided to run in this by-election and run against the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in the seat.
It really boils down to my slogan, which isn't a slogan. It's simply the truth. It's, this is our home. This is our riding. We just had an election and we spent all that money and we elected the candidate of our choice, who promptly turned around and said, no, I don't want that mandate I asked you for. And we're spending another $2 million to vote in the angry guy from Ottawa, who doesn't know jack about this area. He may have been born in Calgary, but he's from Ottawa. He hasn't been here. He hasn't lived here. And even if he had stayed in Calgary, this is a very different area than the urban centers he's used to.
So you're mad. You don't like what Damien Carrick has done. You don't like what Pierre Poilievre has done, even though there is a long tradition in Canadian politics of backbenchers giving up their seat for the leader. You don't like this one bit.
Well, yeah, I would agree. Normally, yes. But this unseated leader it's not that he didn't have a seat. It's that he didn't bother to show up for his constituents. So they fired him. And now he just assumes we're going to vote him in when he lived in the same town as his constituents. We're 3,000 kilometers west. You think he's going to show up here ever?
So you don't buy it that he's running to represent this riding, to be the voice of Battle River Crowfoot in Parliament. You think this is just a path back to the House of Commons so we can get back into question period and those things?
Absolutely. We are being used, and myself and my neighbors are upset about this.
How upset do you think they are, Bonnie Critchley? Because, this is a seat that reliably votes Conservatives, which is inarguably the reason it was picked. I think Damien Carrick is willing to step aside, and this seems, at least on paper, very little chance of losing. 82% voted for Mr. Carrick in the election on April 28th. How upset do you think they are? Is it enough to just reduce that number, or is this maybe in play?
It's going to be either or. Either way, he is not going to survive his leadership review in January. If he beats me, it's not going to be by much. I can tell you he's going to get 50, maybe 60 max if he beats me.
You think it's that close? What gives you that level of confidence? Do you have polling data? Do you have organization, fundraising? Tell me what makes you so confident of that.
Just literally, I'm going door to door and talking to my neighbors. And there are people who voted for Damien and they liked Damien, and then he sold us out. And especially rural Albertans tend to be an independent lot. And we don't like being used. We don't like our answers being assumed. And that's what's going on right now. And yes, on paper, this is a very conservative area, which is why I'm running a right of center, but centrist campaign. And I am a palatable alternative to the Conservative Party, who has sold them out.
Why did you decide to run as an independent? The other major national parties, at least the New Democrats and the Liberals, are running candidates there. I know it's tough for people to run and vote Liberal in Alberta historically, but the New Democrats have seats there. They form government there in the recent past. And Mark Carney seems to be a more palatable Liberal, I think, for a lot of people in Alberta. Why not look at those options? Why run independent instead?
Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Mark Carney is a progressive conservative in a Liberal suit. But the reason I ran independent is two reasons. The first being that obviously I can't run for the CPC.
Mm-hmm.
The second being that this is Canadian politics. And the leak over from our south border of this two-party system is damaging to the Canadian polyscape. And this is also somebody can be both or one or the other, but doesn't have to stay within the team politics, because team politics is very damaging. We have to hold our own team accountable. We have to hold our own representatives accountable. And you can't just own the libs or own the cons while your representative is literally voting against your best interests. But it beats the other team. This is not the Stanley Cup. This is politics. This is people's lives. You
don't like the polarization. You don't like sort of the tribalism that's emerging in politics over the last number of years.
No, and that's, like I said, that's a leak over from our south border. That is not Canadian politics. We are a multi-party system for a reason. And this multi-party system is what holds our two big parties in check.
So
then, of course...
Oh, go ahead, finish it. No, go ahead, finish your thought. Yep, go ahead.
There is a third reason, and it's because in this current minority government, an independent would hold just an immense amount of influence, being a swing vote, when the current formal government, when the current formal government is short 3 seats.
Yes, there's no question. Every vote counts in a minority parliament. We've just lived through that for a couple of elections and a number of years. But I want to go back to something you said, Ms. Critchley, that whatever the result is on election night, you think Mr. Poilievre will not survive his leadership review as a result of the outcome. Is that kind of the end goal here, to damage him to the point that his leadership is untenable? Is that what you're hoping to accomplish by running in this?
What I'm really hoping to accomplish is keeping a voice for Battle River Crowfoot, for Battle River Crowfoot in Battle River Crowfoot, so that we have a voice in Parliament. He is not going to be a voice in Parliament for us. And if he loses that leadership review, the other problem we're going to have, is he going to stay as a backbencher in middle of nowhere when he's got that pension? Or are we going to be doing this again in January?
Do you think he'd seek re-election in Battle River Crowfoot, or is this just should he win this on the 18th of August, or do you think this is just a means to an end, and come next election, Pierre Poilievre will be running somewhere else?
Well, Damien and Monsieur Poilievre have told us as much, that Damien will run again in the next... Now, I don't know how that's going to work with his lovely new job, but we'll see how that goes. But no, I do not expect Monsieur Poilievre to try and stay in a backwater rural Alberta riding.
Just one last question. I mean, it's a very different riding than the one he represented here in the Ottawa area in Carleton, which is a much more dense, a lot of civil servants, rapidly growing sort of part of the National Capital Region. In an interview with my colleague Catherine Cullen, Pierre Poilievre suggested that he lost that seat because of his publicly stated intentions to cut the civil service, and that he was honest and upfront with what his plans were. What do you make of that reasoning as the reason why he lost the seat here in the Ottawa area and is now running in your neck of the woods?
Well, he seems to have a fascination with straws, because now he's grasping at straws. I have had so many lifelong Conservative voters from the Carleton region reach out to my campaign and say he was voted out because he did not represent them. They gave him multiple opportunities, and he was too busy gunning for the Prime Minister's job, as evidenced by him being in BC last week. Like I said, he's got a fascination with straws because he's grasping right now.
Okay. Final point. What does a successful election night look like for you, Bonnie Critchley?
Ultimately, it's me being elected and Battle River Crowfoot having a voice in Parliament, because it's not going to happen if Monsieur Poilievre gets in.
Well, Bonnie Critchley, it was good to meet you. Thank you for the time today, and we'll check back in once we get those final results in mid-August. Thanks for joining us today.
Fantastic. Thank you for the time. Have a good day.